The arena floor trembled beneath 10,000 roaring voices. Blood stained the white sand crimson where lesser warriors had already fallen. Captain Zara Knox stood motionless at the center of it all, her emerald eyes scanning the cheering crowd with cold calculation. "Ladies and gentlemen," the announcer's voice boomed across the Coliseum. "Tonight we witness history. The undefeated champion of 7 star systems, Thane Vex, faces off against the infamous human pirate." Thane Vex emerged from the eastern gate like a walking mountain, 8 feet of pure muscle wrapped in gleaming battle armor. His 4 arms flexed as he hefted weapons that could crush starship hulls. The crowd exploded with approval. Their champion, their god of war. Zara stretched her neck lazily, hearing the satisfying crack of vertebrae. Well, look what crawled out of the pretty boy factory. The Vexian warrior's mandibles clicked in what passed for laughter among his species. "Human, female, your reputation precedes you. They say you've killed 100 men. Only 100? Zara's lips curved into a predatory smile. Someone's been keeping poor records. The crowd hushed as Thane raised his primary weapon, a plasma blade longer than Zara stood tall. Its energy field hummed with lethal promise. "I have studied your combat recordings," Thane announced, his voice carrying across the silent arena. "Your speed, your tactics, your weaknesses." He pointed the weapon at her heart. "I promise you this, little human. 1 strike. That's all I need to end your pathetic existence." Zara's laugh echoed off the arena walls like breaking glass. "Oh, how generous of you. Please, by all means, take your best shot. I insist." She spread her arms wide, completely defenseless. The crowd gasped. Even seasoned warriors in the VIP boxes leaned forward in disbelief. "What is she doing?" whispered Ambassador Crix to his companion. "Has she lost her mind?" "Perhaps," replied General Voss, his cybernetic eye whirring as it focused on the human. "Or perhaps we're about to learn why the Galactic Council considers her the most dangerous creature in known space." Thane's confusion was visible even behind his battle mask. "You mock me, human." "Mock you?" Zara tilted her head with exaggerated innocence. "Sweetie, if I wanted to mock you, I'd comment on that adorable little dance you did entering the arena. Very intimidating. Really got my heart racing." The Vexian's rage flared. His species couldn't tolerate disrespect. It was genetic, cultural, biological imperative. You will die for your insolence. The massive warrior charged forward with surprising speed, his blade carved through the air in a perfect arc, aimed directly at Zara's neck. The crowd held its breath. Betting pools across the galaxy calculated final odds. At the last possible millisecond, Zara moved, her body twisted like liquid mercury, the plasma blade missing her throat by mere atoms. But she didn't retreat. Instead, she flowed closer, her hand finding the small of Thane's back with surgical precision. "Thanks for the warm-up, big boy," she whispered in his ear. "My turn." What happened next defied physics, biology, and every law of combat known to the civilized galaxy. Zara's palm strike connected with Thane's spine at exactly the right angle, velocity, and force. The impact sent a shockwave through his body the human scientists would later describe as impossible and alien doctors would call artistically brutal. The 8-foot warrior froze mid-swing. His eyes widened behind his mask as his nervous system registered what his brain refused to accept. Did she just... General Voss leaned forward. His organic, I'm matching the magnification of his cybernetic one. "Impossible," breathed Ambassador Crix. She struck one pressure point. One tiny spot. How could... Thane's weapon clattered to ground. His 4 arms began to spasm independently. First the left pair, then the right. His legs followed, muscles contracting in patterns that would have been comical if they weren't so terrifying. "You're probably wondering what's happening," Zara said conversationally, circling the paralyzed warrior like a shark around a life raft. "See, I spent 3 years studying Vexian anatomy. Fascinating stuff. Did you know your species has 17 distinct nerve clusters? Of course you didn't. Most of your people think nerve clusters are something you order at restaurants." The crowd had fallen completely silent. This wasn't combat. This was something else entirely. something that made veteran soldiers shift uncomfortably in their seats. Thane tried to speak, but only managed to strangle wheeze. "Oh, you want to talk now? How precious." Zara stopped directly in front of him, her green eyes gleaming with dark amusement. "Here's the thing about nerve clusters, champion. Hit them in the right sequence, with the right pressure, at the right intervals." She paused, savoring the moment. "And you can turn a warrior into a very expensive marionette." She reached out and gently tapped 5 specific points along Thane's torso. Each touch was light as a feather. Each one sent visible shockwaves through the massive warrior's frame. "Tap." Her voice was sing-song, almost musical. 5 little pressure points. 5 little nerve clusters. 5 little ways to make you very, very sorry you opened that big mouth of yours. Thane's body began to contort. His joints bent at angles that shouldn't have been possible. The crowd watched in horrified fascination as their undefeated champion twisted, like a pretzel being shaped by invisible hands. "This is impossible," General Voss muttered. "No single being possesses that level of anatomical knowledge. The precision required, the timing, the sheer audacity. She's not just killing him," Ambassador Critch realized, his voice barely a whisper. "She's dismantling him, like a mechanic taking apart an engine." Zara heard the whispers from the VIP box and smiled. Enhanced hearing was just one of the many gifts she'd received during her years in the Terran Special Operations Division, before she'd gone rogue, before she'd become the galaxy's most wanted pirate. "You know what the best part is?" she said to Thane, who was now folded into an impossible geometric shape. "I kept my promise. I let you swing first, just like I said I would." She circled him one final time, her boots clicking against the blood-soaked sand. "But I never promised you get a second swing." The arena held its breath as Zara raised her hand. 5 fingers extended. 5 pressure points identified. 5 ways to finish what she'd started. "Ladies and gentlemen," she called out to the crowd, her voice carrying easily across the stunned silence, "your champion promised to end me in one blow." Sweet of him, really. Tragically overconfident, but sweet. She flexed her fingers like a pianist preparing for a concerto. "I'm about to return the favor. With interest." The first strike hit Thane's left shoulder joint. The sound was like a tree branch snapping in a hurricane. His arms separated from his torso with wet finality. The crowd screamed, some in horror, others in savage delight, all in recognition that they were witnessing something unprecedented in the history of gladiatorial combat. 1, Zara counted cheerfully. The second strike took his right shoulder. Another crack, another limb, hitting the sand with a meaty thud. 2. General Voss was on his feet now, his cybernetic eye recording everything. "This is beyond warfare," he breathed. "This is art. Terrible, beautiful art." Ambassador Crix had turned pale green, his species equivalent of shock. "She's not just killing him. She's making a statement. To everyone watching. To everyone who might consider challenging humanity." The third strike severed Thane's left hip. His leg toppled sideways like a felled tree. 3. The fourth took the right hip. The mighty champion was now just a torso and head, unable to move, unable to fight, unable to do anything but witness his own systematic destruction. 4. Zara paused, savoring the moment. The arena was completely silent now. Even the vendors had stopped selling refreshments. Every eye was fixed on a small human woman, standing over the remains of their greatest warrior. "Any last word, champion?" she asked politely. Thane's mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for water. No sound emerged. His voice box had been damaged in the first pressure point strike. "No." Nothing inspiring about honor or glory or dying well. Zara shrugged. "Shame. I do so love a good final speech. Makes the ending more dramatic." She raised her hand one final time. Her target was clear. The neck, the head. The final separation that would complete her grisly promise. 5, she said softly. But as her hand descended, something unexpected happened. A voice rang out across the arena. Clear, commanding, and absolutely furious. "Stop." Zara's hand froze inches from Thane's neck. She turned slowly, her eyebrows raised in mild curiosity. Standing in the royal box was Empress Valdris herself, the ruler of a Vexian Empire, the most powerful being in 7 star systems, and she looked absolutely livid. Well, Zara said, her voice carrying clearly in the sudden silence. Look who decided to join the party. The Empress descended from her box with fluid grace, her ceremonial robes billowing behind her like storm clouds. Her personal guard moved to flank her, weapons drawn but not quite aimed. They knew better than to threaten a human who had just dismembered their greatest champion with her bare hands. You will cease this display immediately, Valdris commanded. Zara's smile could have frozen plasma. Or what, your majesty? Or you will face consequences beyond your comprehension. The human pirate laughed, the sound echoing off the arena walls like breaking crystal. Consequences? Oh, that's rich. Let me tell you about consequences. Empress. Consequences are what happen when you declare humans to be inferior species. Consequences are what happen when you enslave our colonies. Consequences are what happen when you execute our ambassadors. She gestured casually at the scattered remains of Thane Vex. Consequences are what happen when you send your best warrior to kill me for sport. Empress Valdris's mandibles clicked rapidly. Fury, pure, undiluted rage. You dare lecture me about consequences, pirate? Oh, I dare much more than that, Zara replied. Her voice had gone quiet. Dangerous. The kind of quiet that made smart people start looking for exits. The crowd sensed a shift in atmosphere. The blood sport was over. This was something else. Something that felt like the prelude to war. You see, your majesty, Zara continued, her green eyes never leaving the Empress's face, I didn't come here just to kill your champion, though that was certainly enjoyable. I came here to deliver a message. She stepped over Thane's severed torso, without looking down. From humanity, to you, and to every other species that thinks we're weak, that thinks we're prey, that thinks we're something to be conquered and controlled. The arena had become a tomb, silent, waiting, holding its collective breath. Zara smiled again, but this time there was no humor in it, only promise. Dark, terrible promise. The message is simple, she said. We're done playing defense. Empress Valdris drew herself up to her full 7-foot height, her ceremonial crown glinting in the arena lights. You threaten the Vexian Empire? A single human against the might of 7 star systems. Zara's laugh was like ice cracking on a frozen lake. Single human? Oh, sweetness. You really haven't been paying attention, have you? She reached into her jacket and withdrew a small device, no larger than her palm, but it made the Empress's guards tense immediately. They recognized military hardware when they saw it. This is a quantum communicator, Zara said conversationally. Very expensive, very illegal, and very, very effective at reaching long distances. She pressed a button. A soft chime echoed across the silent arena. What are you doing? Valdris demanded. Calling in some friends. Zara replied, See, your majesty. While you were busy planning this little gladiator show, I was making arrangements of my own. The device in her hand projected a holographic display, star charts, fleet positions, and something that made the Empress's blood run cold. Impossible, Valdris breathed. 200 human warships, Zara said cheerfully, currently positioned around each of your 7 capital worlds. Funny thing about cloaking technology. Humans got really good at it after you started hunting us. General Voss's cybernetic, I was working overtime, recording everything. This isn't possible. Our sensors would have detected. Your sensors, Zara interrupted, are designed to find ships you understand. Human technology took a rather interesting turn after we went into hiding. We learned to think differently. She pressed another button. The holographic display zoomed in on the Imperial capital world, the massive space stations, the defense platforms, the orbital shipyards, and the sleek, predatory shapes surrounding them like sharks circling wounded prey. Each ship is crewed by volunteers, Zara continued. Survivors from your slave colonies, refugees from your purges, people who have very personal reasons to dislike your empire. Ambassador Crix had gone from pale green to translucent. You're bluffing. This is some kind of illusion, some human trick. Zara's smile turned predatory. Am I? She pressed a third button. The communicator crackled with static, then cleared to reveal a familiar voice. Calm, professional, and absolutely deadly. Knox here, the voice said. Package delivered? Oh, yes, Zara replied. Very thoroughly delivered. Status report, Admiral? All fleets in position. Weapons locked on target. Awaiting your signal. The arena erupted in chaos. Spectators screamed. Guards shouted orders. Officials ran for exits that suddenly seemed very far away. But Empress Valdris stood perfectly still, her alien features calculating odds that kept getting worse. Admiral Chun, Zara said into the communicator, please give Her Majesty a demonstration of our new toys. With pleasure, Captain. The holographic display shifted to show the orbital defenses around the Imperial capital. Massive platforms bristling with enough firepower to level continents, the pride of the Vexian military. And then, one by one, they began to disappear. Not destroyed, not blown apart in spectacular explosions. They simply vanished, like they had never existed at all. What is this sorcery? Valdris demanded. Displacement weapons. Zara explained helpfully. We couldn't match your firepower, so we decided to sidestep the whole problem. Why blow up your defenses when we can simply move them somewhere else? Move them where? Zara's grin was absolutely feral. The nearest black hole, about 17 parsecs from here. Give or take. The Empress staggered as if she'd been physically struck. You're dismantling our entire defense grid. Oh no, Zara corrected. We're not dismantling anything. We're relocating it. Very, very far away, where it can contemplate the philosophical implications of gravity for all eternity. She clicked the communicator again. Chun, estimated time to complete orbital clearing? 12 minutes, Captain. Maybe 10 if they keep clustering their platforms like this. Excellent work, Admiral. Do try to save some of the pretty ones. I'm thinking of redecorating my ship. Zara looked back at the Empress, whose composure was cracking like ice in a supernova. Now then, Your Majesty, shall we discuss terms? Terms. Valdris's voice was barely controlled fury. You dare dictate terms to me? Oh, I more than dare, Zara replied. I insist. See, here's the thing about humans that you never quite grasped. We're not just tough. We're not just resilient. We're vindictive. She gestured at the holographic display, where defense platforms continued to vanish into quantum nowhere. You killed our families, enslaved our children, turned our colonies into labor camps. And you thought we'd just what? Fade away quietly? Become extinct with dignity. Her voice had gone deadly quiet again. The kind of quiet that made experienced warriors check their weapons and calculate escape routes. Humans don't fade away, Empress. We adapt. We learn. We remember. And most importantly, she leaned closer, her green eyes boring into Valdris's alien features. We get even. The communicator crackled again. Captain Knox, we're detecting massive fleet movement from the outer systems. Looks like they're trying to recall their patrol fleets. Let them come, Zara said without taking her eyes off the Empress. In fact, encourage them. I'd hate for anyone to miss the main event. What main event? Valdris demanded. The one where I demonstrate the difference between mercy and weakness, Zara replied. She pressed another button on her communicator. Fleet Admiral Morrison, you're clear for Phase 2. A new voice joined the conversation. Older, gruffer, and absolutely implacable. Copy that, Knox. Beginning systematic infrastructure displacement, starting with shipyards, moving on to refineries, then industrial complexes. ETA for complete economic collapse, about 6 hours. The Empress's composure finally shattered. Stop. You cannot the civilian populations. We'll be completely unharmed, Zara finished. We're not you, Valdris. We don't target innocents. But your military? Your industrial base? Your ability to project power across the galaxy? She shrugged eloquently. That's all fair game. She began walking in a slow circle around the Empress, her boots clicking against the blood-stained sand. The scattered remains of Thane Vex served as grisly punctuation marks. You know what the beautiful part is? We learned all of this from you. Every tactic, every strategy, every ruthless calculation. You taught us how to wage total war. You just never considered that we might be better students than you were teachers. General Voss found his voice at last. What do you want? Zara stopped walking and smiled at him. Want? Oh, General, I want so many things. I want my homeworld back. I want the slave camps opened. I want reparation for every human family destroyed by your empire. Her smile turned sharp as a monomolecular blade. But mostly, I want you to remember this moment. All of you, I want you to remember what happens when you underestimate humanity. The communicator buzzed with incoming reports. Fleet movements. Defense grid failures. Industrial complexes vanishing into quantum foam. The systematic dismantling of the most powerful military in known space. Impossible, Ambassador Crix whispered. How did you coordinate all of this? The logistics alone. We had help, Zara admitted. Turns out, humans aren't the only species your empire has oppressed. The Zalani provided intelligence. The Koroth gave us quantum displacement technology. The Nexus Collective opened their trade routes. She gestured at the chaos around them. Amazing what people will do when they're offered a chance at revenge. Empress Valdris was staring at the holographic display, watching her empire crumble in real time. This is madness. You're destroying the stability of 7 star systems. No, Zara corrected. We're ending a tyranny. There's a difference. She walked back to where Thane Vex's head lay separate from his body. The champion's eyes were still open, still aware, still watching everything unfold. You promised to end me in one blow, she said to the dying warrior. I let you try, just like I promised. She knelt down beside him, her voice gentle now, almost kind. But see, the thing about promises is they work both ways. She stood up and addressed the entire arena. Her voice carried easily to every corner, every terrified spectator, every cowering official. I promise to send your champion's body away in 5 pieces. Promise kept. She gestured at the scattered limbs. But I also made another promise. One you didn't hear. The communicator crackled. Captain Knox, all primary targets displaced. Moving to secondary objectives. Estimated time to total strategic paralysis 2 hours. Excellent, Admiral. Proceed as planned. Zara looked directly at Empress Valdris. I promise humanity that your empire would pay for what you did to us. Every atrocity, every murdered child, every enslaved family. The Empress drew herself up with what remained of her dignity. And if I refuse to surrender, if I fight to the last ship, the last soldier, Zara's smile was gentle, understanding, almost sympathetic. Then you'll die exactly like your champion did, piece by piece, while I explain exactly how I'm dismantling everything you've built. She pressed the communicator one final time. All fleets, this is Captain Knox. Execute Phase 3. What's Phase 3? General Voss asked, though his expression suggested he really didn't want to know. Phase 3, Zara replied cheerfully, is where we demonstrate what humans learn from studying Vexian anatomy on a galactic scale. The holographic display shifted to show the Vexian home system, the massive star that powered their civilization, the energy collectors that fed their empire, the solar infrastructure that made interstellar dominance possible, and the sleek human ships moving into position around it all. You see, Zara continued, empires are a lot like bodies. They have vital systems, circulatory networks, nervous centers, critical points of failure. She gestured at the display. We spent 3 years mapping every pressure point in your empire, just like I mapped every pressure point in your champion. One by one, the energy collectors around the Vexian sun began to disappear, not destroyed, displaced, moved to coordinates somewhere in the galactic void where they would never be found again. Stop, Valdris whispered. Please, without those collectors, our worlds will go dark, Zara finished. will go cold, will become uninhabitable within a matter of months. She tilted her head thoughtfully. Much like what happened to the human colonies you conquered, the Empress fell to her knees. The weight of Galactic Empire, the responsibility for billions of lives, the crushing realization that she was utterly, completely defeated. "What do you want?" she asked. Zara knelt beside her, bringing them to eye level. When she spoke, her voice was soft, reasonable, terrifyingly calm. "I want you to remember this moment, Valdris. I want you to remember that humans keep their promises. All of them, even the ones we make to ourselves in the dark." She stood up and looked around the arena one final time, at the scattered remains of their greatest champion, at the terrified spectators, at the officials and guards and dignitaries who had come to watch a human die for their entertainment. "Ladies and gentlemen," she called out, her voice carrying clearly across the stunned silence, "tonight you came to see an execution. Instead, you witnessed a revolution." She pressed the communicator. "All fleets, this is Knox. Mission accomplished. Begin Phase 4. "What's Phase 4? Someone called out. Zara's smile was radiant, beautiful, absolutely terrifying. "Phase 4, she said, is where we go home." The holographic display showed human ships across 7 star systems powering up their displacement drives. But instead of vanishing into quantum foam, like the Vexian infrastructure, they began to shimmer with a different kind of energy. "You didn't think we came here just to break your toys, did you?" Zara asked. "We came here to take them. Every shipyard, every refinery, every piece of infrastructure you stole from conquered worlds." She laughed, the sound echoing off the arena walls. "We're not just ending your empire, Valdris. We're relocating it to human space, where it belongs." The displacement effect reached critical mass. Across the galaxy, the industrial might of the Vexian Empire began to fade from existence. Not destroyed, not abandoned, simply moved, relocated to human-controlled systems where it would serve a different master. "This is theft on a galactic scale," General Voss protested. "No," Zara corrected. "This is recovery. Every factory, every shipyard, every piece of technology, built with human slave labor, powered by resources stripped from human worlds, maintained by human blood." Her eyes glittered with cold satisfaction. "We're just taking back what was always ours." The communicator crackled one final time. "Captain Knox, all objectives secured. Displacement complete. Welcome home." Zara looked down at Empress Valdris, still kneeling in the blood-stained sand. "Your empire is gone, Valdris. Your military is scattered. Your infrastructure belongs to humanity now." She paused, letting the words sink in. "But you're still alive. Your people are still breathing. Your worlds are still habitable." She knelt down one more time, bringing herself to the Empress's level. "That's the difference between us," she said softly. "When you had power, you used it to destroy, to enslave, to murder." She stood up slowly. "When we have power, we use it to free, to rebuild, to remember." She walked toward the arena exit, her mission complete. Behind her, the remains of Thane Vex served as a grim reminder of what happened when you underestimated humanity. Around her, the shattered remains of an empire bore witness to the price of oppression. At the threshold of the exit, she turned back one final time. "Oh, and Valdris," she called out cheerfully, "next time you want to execute a human for sport, remember what happened here. Remember that we keep our promises. All of them." She smiled one last time, beautiful and terrible and absolutely final. "Remember that we let you swing first." And then Captain Zara Knox walked out of the arena, leaving behind the scattered pieces of a champion, an empire, and 7 star systems that would never again underestimate the resolve of humanity. The revolution had begun with a single blow. It ended with the universe itself holding its breath, wondering what humans would do next.